Their love for Megan will be a joy to recall. Protect the youth of our parish, Heavenly Father, for we see far too many lives cut short too soon. We need you to touch our youth and have in them an awakening to your love and grace. Protect all those who work for peace and healing in our community, police and fire, medical and mental health, churches, hospital, clinics, and agencies. Grant that the world may be a better and happier place for our having lived in it, and that we may ever practice that charity which is the bond of peace and the perfection of every virtue. Amen.
Amen.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Ford, if you would please call the roll.
Mr. Dean? Here. Mr. Sharp? Here. Mr. Thompson? Here. Mr. Faulkner? Here. Mr. Gould? Here. Mr. Tanner? Here. Mr. Bender?
Here.
Mr. Groby? Here. Mr. Canulet? Mr. Belisario? Here. Ms. O'Brien? Here. Mr. Stefanczyk? Here. Mr. Artigue? Here. Mr. Smith? Here. You have a quorum.
Thank you. The first item on our agenda is a presentation of fine young people who have excelled in their specialty, which is basketball. And that's a certificate of recognition to the Salmon High School girls basketball team for winning the Class 4A state championship. An outstanding accomplishment. I know that is an extremely difficult classification. I guess I could say every classification is extremely difficult, but no state championship is easy to win. I know it took hard work, so we're here to honor these young ladies and their coaches tonight, and I'm going to ask Councilman Councilman Steve Smith, no, TJ Smith, to join me in recognizing the young ladies along with our parish president, Ms. Brister.
While we're waiting, I'd like to take the opportunity to say that when Jerry asked me to join him up here, I began to scratch my head to wonder why he wanted me to join him, And so when I looked around the council,
do you know how proud we are of our youth in this parish? That's some indication, right? Okay. By the way, we happen to have our distinguished sheriff with us tonight. He's going to be giving us a brief presentation, so I asked him if he would come up and join Councilman Smith and our parish president and myself to shake your hands and recognize you, okay? So, Mr. Smith, I'm going to give you the list that you would give me the names, and hopefully they're in order. Miss
Adacia Tinson.
Adacia?
Number three.
So I can congratulate him too.
That's right. He's our parish president.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to you.
Number 4, Christy Ducree.
Christy?
Myronette Cooper.
Excuse me 1 second. It just occurred to me, let me read one of these if I could. St. Tammany Of course, this is to each individual girl or coach. St. Tammany Parish President Pat Brister and the Parish Council recognize the Salmon High School girls basketball team for its positive achievements and accomplishments. In particular, we recognize those players who have exemplified high moral character, outstanding athleticism, and true sportsmanship, right? The 3 ways to the championship. St. Tammany Parish government acknowledges the youth of this parish who are honest, law-abiding. You with that, huh, Sheriff? We didn't add that in for you, too, Jack. That's in there, man. And promote positive attitudes through the high level of competitive athletics. So the St. Tammany Parish formally recognizes, in this case, did we get Miss Cooper's name yet?
Yes, Myronette Cooper.
Myronette Cooper. Myronette.
Miss Macy DeGrew. Miss Tiara Warren.
Congratulations, dear.
Miss Rachel Austin.
Rachel, congratulations.
Miss Kalani Brown.
I bet you, yeah.
I want to congratulate you.
Me too. Congratulations.
Come on. Even though I'm 62 and 5'8", you think you can dunk over me? Congratulations. Yeah.
Miss Megan Brown.
Megan Brown.
Miss,
I can tell you, everybody on this team could dunk over me.
including me, Jerry.
Yeah. I just got it, TJ.
Miss Kayla Sibley.
That was bad.
Miss Shalanita Starks.
There you go.
Miss Haley Pichon.
I'm going to take the other hand here, girl, so I don't hurt that one.
There you go.
And Jerry, we've got the head coach, Kevin Anderson. Is he here?
Yeah, Coach. Two times.
One time,
One-
right. Twice to the finals, we won it once.
Hey.
You have assistant coach Wendy Stampley.
Had a lot to do with it. A lot of hard work.
Congratulations, Coach.
Congratulations.
And assistant coach Dee Brown.
Congratulations, Coach.
And Jerry, I think we have the principal at present with us this afternoon also, Miss Wartman. Miss Susan Wartman, principal at Salmon High School.
Congratulations for the whole school.
I know you're proud.
I guess all of y'all can tell, with Salmon High School is in my council district. But let me also tell you, 6 of my 8 children graduated from Salmon High School, all got excellent educations, okay? So, and they all played ball. It can be done. Both can be done. So Salmon helped me get 5 of them out of my house. I had 1 son, who's very close to being our mom, and I just have the twins left. But obviously, I have a very warm spot in my heart, girls, for Salmon High School, and actually for all of our schools, okay? Because your teachers put in a lot of time and effort. You know that your coaches do, your principal, your faculty. Look, all the way down to the people who sometimes we don't recognize, like the maintenance people, the janitors, okay? That's all part of our whole way of life, right? So go out into the world after you graduate and do good things, okay? Congratulations. Can somebody take a picture for me with this young lady? Okay, I'll just take the trophy. Come on, right here. Where's the sheriff? Come on, sheriff. You want to get in? Hold on, we're waiting for the sheriff.
Thank you.
There you go. Now you can have the back. All right. Okay. Thank you, Pat. Thank you. Okay, next we have item 2 is a presentation by the President's Veteran and Military Advisory Board to, a presentation to Lane Carson in recognition of his service to the Louisiana Department of Veterans Affairs. Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Carson, I know you're here.
Yeah, I saw him.
Come on up here. Most of you know, all of you know Lane Carson, who has been with us for quite some time now. He's retired and enjoying retirement, but we wanted to give him a little thing. Hey, how are you? Good to see you again. And it is my honor to award this to Mr. Carson. Whereas Lane Carson served as the Secretary of Veterans Affairs for the state of Louisiana for 4 years, and whereas during his time as Secretary, he ensured every parish had a Veterans Affairs Service Office, expanded eligibility at the state's 5 veterans' homes, added 2 new veterans cemeteries in the state, and developed a business initiative aimed at providing employment opportunities for veterans, and whereas Mr. Carson was wounded while he served as a platoon leader in the United States Army in South Vietnam during the Vietnam War, and whereas he is the first Vietnam veteran elected to the Louisiana House of Representatives, and whereas Mr. Carson has been a longtime supporter of a veteran cemetery in St. Tammany, and he was instrumental, I might say more than instrumental, in making it a reality. Now, therefore, I, Patricia Brister, as Parish President of St. Tammany, do hereby recognize Lane Carson, and I ask all citizens of St. Tammany Parish to thank him for his service for so many years. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. It's always good to come back where you started from, you know. And we did start here in the early 80s, and it's good to see some old faces that I remember well and some new faces, so showing you got some fresh new blood here, and that's always good. But Laura and I thank you for honoring us today, and we really need to be honoring these 35,000 veterans that we have here in this parish, as all of you know so well. We have a chairman of our committee, Chairman Bryce, and several of the others. Would you all on the committee raise your hand and come on up here? You know, they're the ones. And they're the ones that got that Veterans Memorial going in the front of the courthouse. And I can tell you, I've been in every parish of this state, and there's no memorial like the one in Covington. And thanks to Kieran Weldon and Fauntleroy and Latham for designing that, which our daughter Becky had a little bit to do with it, who, by the way, just gave us, Laura and I, our second grandchild, a 10-pound, 1-ounce baby boy, Bodie Parks. He's going to be a Mandeville High School linebacker or something like that. So we're real proud of that. But most of all, we want to thank the council and the parish for its strong support of the veterans over the past several years. You know, y'all provide those 2 office spaces, the one in Covington, where Matt Cole is, the one in Slidell and the old towers where Rolf Klingenberg is. You know, and every year they bring in $1 billion statewide. Here in St. Tammany alone, it's in the millions of disability and pension benefits they bring. Pat mentioned the cemetery. That was what I was working so hard with Bill and so many other folks here at the parish level for so many years, and it's so great that it all fell into play right there at Camp Billary. So about a year from now, good Lord willing, we'll have it, and then when the good Lord calls, those veterans will have a nice place for all of them to go. So with that, on behalf of Laura and I and the commission and the chairman, I know wants to say a couple of words. We want to thank you all so much for your strong support over the years, and it's good to be back, and looking forward to taking some time out and smelling the roses and being with the grandkids. So thank you very much.
Thank you. They wrote it out for me. They didn't want me to talk long. So, on behalf of the St. Tammany Parish President, Veteran Military Affairs Advisory Council, we present to you, Mr. Lane Carson, this certificate as a sign of appreciation for what you have done to benefit veterans in the military community of St. Tammany Parish. And
Thank you, Willie. Appreciate it. God bless you.
thank you.
Just wanted to make sure we all never, ever forget them veterans, particularly this last generation, the 9/11 bunch, all those kids that graduated in 99 and 2000, the sacrifices they have made. You know, and I think of so many of them who are out there now still defending us. I think of Matt Cole, the fellow who represents us in Covington, who is severely disabled but filing claims. You know, I think of all the other young men and women. And finally, my favorite Navy guy, and Laura's too, Lieutenant Chris Carson, who's the operations officer on the USS Shoup, a guided missile destroyer, on patrol in the Persian Gulf off the coast of Iran. So let's all never, ever forget those guys and gals. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, let me, the next presentation is a certificate of recognition to the Defunct Nation by Councilman Smith, but I'm not sure if Ms. Gillum is here yet. I was told she might be delayed. Okay, well, we're going to hold on to that until she arrives.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, could I just take a moment of privilege and just one short announcement?
Sure.
If you don't mind, since
Right,
we have a little
absolutely.
break here. On the heels of receiving the Certificate for Excellence in Financial Reporting recently, St. Tammany Parish yesterday received more outside verification that parish government is managing its finances in a responsible manner. Business analysts from Standard & Poor's, one of the world's leading providers of independent credit risk research and benchmarks, is upgrading the parish sewer and water debt rating to AA- from A+. Standard & Poor's explained that the upgrade was due to the fact that the parish system maintained a strong financial profile and the risk associated with operating a new system was behind us. The upgrade comes after a routine Standard & Poor's surveillance of the ratings they use, that they issue to determine if the rating should be downgraded, maintained, or upgraded. The prior sewer and water debt rating was made in November 2009 at the parish's request for the borrowing to acquire Southeast Louisiana Water. I want to particularly thank Greg Gordon, Tina St. Clair, and their entire staff for their fine work. And in addition, thanks to Leslie Long again and her staff, and Beverly Garpy for all the work they put into this effort. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for letting me announce that.
Outstanding. Okay, I'll ask my colleagues on the council, we need to move up 2 items off the floor. and that would be item 1, a presentation by our Sheriff Jack Strain, and item 2, a report from our Parish President, Pat Brister.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Belisario, I think was seconded by, excuse me? Open the floor. Yeah. That was by Mr. Belisario. I think Mr. Dean put his hand up, seconded. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Okay, so we're going to move up items 1 and 2, okay? Sheriff Jack Strain, we appreciate you being here tonight, Sheriff. As you know, you and I talk from time to time. It's always a joy because I know you do such a fantastic job in the parish for us, you and your people.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. And I very much, on behalf of the council, appreciate you taking your time to come here tonight and give us a presentation.
Thank you. I didn't know she followed me up. I was going to say I'll have some folks with me, but let me begin by saying, Chairman Bender and President Brister, thank you for allowing me a few minutes to come and speak about something that's very important to me. And obviously, if we're passionate about something and we believe in it, we tend to ramble on. So please, if I get to talking too much, I know you have a full house and a lot on your agenda.
And he can
Please
do that.
stop me. But what I would like to do is clarify some of the confusion that may exist involving our crime lab. I have to begin by saying, guys, this has been an ongoing project for at least 10 years now. We recognized in 2002 that the Sheriff's Office was growing, that our parish was growing, and the technology that was needed was growing as well. We moved the crime lab in 2002 from the place that it was housed, roughly about 2,500 square feet, to the current place that is housed now, which is a repurposed vehicle maintenance barn. We knew back then that we would have to one day address the physical structure that housed all of the technology and the scientists. So we went to work. We recognized that we would not go to the taxpayers for additional revenue. We would not ask for an additional tax, that we would do it within the capabilities of the Sheriff's Office, but recognizing then that we were even falling short as far as building a modern crime lab to address the needs of our parish. We partnered with the courts. We exercised a state law that allowed a court fee to be applied. That court fee, in conjunction with all of the municipal governments combined, has generated to this date about $2 million that will be front money, will go first into the crime lab. The purpose for that is obviously everyone being on the same page, but secondly, recognizing that the parish moves forward together. Individually, we would not move forward, but we recognize that by getting all of the municipalities, the entire judicial system on the same page, we would be able to build a crime lab that we truly could bring into the next century. It has taken us a lot of time. There's no question that this should have been done years ago, but recognizing without taxation, we had to be innovative and find other ways to fund it, and that's where we find ourselves today. We have finally come to the point, after years of planning, we've come to the point where we have released the plans for bid. I have Captain Dawn Powell here, who heads up our crime lab. Now, the technology and the scientists that she has in the crime lab is certainly, she would do a better job explaining than me. So I asked her to come and give you a glimpse, if you would, give you a glimpse of exactly what the men and women of our crime lab do every day, and more specifically, how it interacts with the investigations of crimes. So with that, Dawn, if you would, or if you're ready, just give an overview, and if we go too long, just let us know.
No, welcome.
Hi, good evening. Our St. Tammany Parish Sheriff's Office Crime Laboratory houses 8 areas of expertise and about 16 employees. The areas that are covered within the crime laboratory are crime scene investigation. That's what you see riding around in the vans, going out to the crime scenes, processing the scenes day and night. Fingerprint analysis, anything that's collected from a crime scene, fingerprint-wise, comes into the laboratory and is analyzed and possibly matched against perpetrators that have been arrested throughout the state of Louisiana and throughout the United States. Drug analysis, any form of a controlled dangerous substance or an unknown substance is analyzed at our laboratory via some scientists that we have on board, and they basically give the results to the court system to be able to prosecute. Trace analysis, we have a hair and fiber analyst on board. She's an expert in those fields, and any case that comes up that might have hair or fibers that need to be analyzed, she does that. Gunshot residue testing. We test primer gunshot residue using a scanning electron microscope, which sounds really technical, but basically anytime a firearm is discharged, there's particles that attach themselves, and we analyze those. Firearms analysis. There are a ton of guns that come in off the streets daily. Our firearms examiner test fires all those in conjunction with the ATF. We have to do that. So we test fire those weapons daily. There's constantly guns coming in and out of our laboratory. Also, if there is bullets or casings seized from a crime scene, we will analyze those and put them into a database to see if they possibly match within the area. We also have a digital forensics laboratory, which is kind of new to our area. It covers cell phones and computer forensics. Cell phones and computers are the new technology that's out there, and we're constantly trying to keep up with that technology. Currently, our laboratory, we analyze approximately 3,000 to 4,000 cases per year. The last year, in 2012, it was on the high end of that. We were between 3,500 and 4,000. So our caseload is increasing year after year. One thing I would like to stress to you guys is that there's no duplication of services that we offer between us and the coroner's office. First of all, it wouldn't be smart to do that in the first place, but I can tell you that there's no duplication of services, and there's no one out there for us to be able to partner with, to be able to say, well, we'll house together and you do this and we'll do that. It's just not available in this parish. And I'd like to give a little retrospect of the crime lab as far as where it came from. In the early 80s, we started a crime lab. Of course, I wasn't here, but they started in a small single-wide trailer, kind of like what you see on a construction site. It was that small. And there was about 2 people in the crime laboratory who did crime scene work. And the crime lab has evolved quickly since then. We've added these areas of expertise as the crime demanded it and citizens wanted those results. What we did prior to us taking on these, we sent it to the State Police Crime Laboratory, which was a turnaround of about 2 years. That's a long time to wait for results on who broke into your house or who broke into your car or who murdered your loved one. DNA was the same way when we sent that off for the state lab. Bottom line is, and I know the sheriff just mentioned this, it's becoming impossible for us to operate in the repurposed vehicle maintenance barn that we're in now, because we need to move into the future. That's the next step. Logically, we went from a single wide trailer. We've made 3-4 moves since then into always been renovated, repurposed, reallocated, secondhand, everything. We've got millions of dollars of equipment under our roof right now. I think it's best for us to move forward with this because we need to protect that equipment, and it is what gives us our answers in the end for court purposes. Perfect.
Mr. Chairman, the fact of the matter is most of our residents are never affected by a crime in St. Tammany, and we're incredibly proud of that. But if you are impacted by a violent crime or a burglary, you certainly want answers, as Don just referred to. The technology and the crime lab is the resource that brings those answers. We have looked for efficiencies in every aspect. Again, we have spent years in design and communications with our peers in the criminal justice system to make sure that we deliver the finest quality evidence that can possibly be delivered to our jurors. Our district attorney and our courts expect nothing but the best when they go forward with a case. More importantly, our jurors expect nothing but the best, and it is fitting for us to move forward with a state-of-the-art facility. Now, I understand politically, I've said this before, right now it's politically inconvenient. But the fact is, it's not why is the sheriff's office building a crime lab. That's what we do. Law enforcement crime labs are a necessity in all law enforcement. Now, I've been around long enough, in the early 1980s, whenever we came upon a crime scene, you hope that enough evidence exists that proved to you that it was indeed a crime scene. Because you see, the only access we had was, as Dawn pointed to, calling the state police. I also came armed with a lot of statistics, but I won't bore you with all of them. I have one set of numbers, though, I think all of you will find important. And it focuses on violent crimes, specifically murder. And I know that many people will tell you, stats don't lie, statisticians do. So what I did is broke down in decades, the crime numbers. From 1980 to 1989, St. Tammany Parish had 110,000 residents and had 97 murders in that decade. From 2000 to 2009, we had 233,740 residents, and we had 74 homicides. Now, explain that. I explain it from good, efficient, effective law enforcement. I don't believe anyone in this chamber, nor any resident in this parish, wants to see us go backwards. But they certainly don't want to see waste. I can assure you that there is not a single redundancy between what we will be building or any other in St. Tammany Parish, whether it's the coroner or anyone else. We are the law enforcement agency of the parish. It is our obligation, no one else's. So with that, we'll be happy to answer your questions or stay in the back. I know you have a big agenda. We'll be happy to stay in the back and answer questions. If the council would like to ask any questions, it's your pleasure, sir.
I have a few questions and a little bit of information, Sheriff.
Yes, sir.
And certainly the statistics you just mentioned speak for themselves. And I mean, it's quite an accomplishment, okay? I know the captain stated this, but I just want to make sure for the record, okay? I look at the coroner's, forensic lab, okay? And we went back and looked at the presentation that was made and so forth. And specifically, it's a forensic lab. And I kind of look at that as a DNA analysis and some other things, cause of death. Was it a murder? Was it a suicide, et cetera? Now, this is a layman's approach, okay? But I'm going to assume, Sheriff, that you're getting your DNA analysis done by the coroner's office, since the captain mentioned there's no duplication of services.
Correct. That's exactly it, sir. And I mean, as far as DNA, we used our coroner. Before he began DNA, we had to basically form that out. DNA is a very expensive technology, and that's partially why we believe we're able to bring our building in, or our crime lab in, cheaper. We're not repeating those services that we can get. The coroner, we believe in the near future, will be certified to do serology, blood examinations. Currently, we have to form a great deal of that out. Another very expensive science that we'll be able to work with the coroner in order to get that service here in St. Tammany. The things that we do focus on the crime scene, and you're right, and the easiest way for most of us to separate the two jobs. The coroner's obligation and duty deals with the body, as to determine cause and manner of death, and define that for us to determine whether or not a crime's been committed. For example, the difference between suicide and homicide. And we have to collect every bit of the evidence that exists. Could go into the hundreds, if not thousands, of pieces of evidence on just about every scene. Now, that's pretty amazing when you look at what these guys do. So it is something that I understand the confusion, maybe from the council and certainly from the public. And we're doing everything we can to try to dispel that confusion. But make no mistake, there are two totally different operations. The coroner focuses on the body and cause and determination of death, and the sheriff is responsible for everything else. And coincidentally, not just the unincorporated areas, as I pointed to, also the incorporated areas. The municipalities and all of the municipal courts have joined with us, and they're not, again, reducing redundancy. They're working with us as opposed to trying to build their own crime labs.
Right.
So we have worked diligently with all of our peers in the justice system to make sure that we bring the best possible scenario to bear.
Thank you, Sheriff. Let me before I go to my colleagues, make a couple other points. For me, a few things that I see in this and notes that I made. Number one, in St. Tammany Parish, it's extremely important to me as a citizen, 37 years here, all 8 of my children born and raised in St. Tammany Parish, okay, to have a safe community. And the way I see it, and I know you're going to agree with it because I'm not that smart, it's just common sense. If you guys don't provide the district attorney's office with the evidence that is collected, whether it be fingerprints, tire track marks that you track down to a vehicle. I'm sounding like one of these Law and Order guys on TV, but finding a weapon in the weeds and testing it and so forth. We're not going to get these convictions on these criminals, and therefore we've got a criminal back on the street. Now, the next thing I want to say, and then we'll move on to a colleague, is I like the fact that you planned ahead with this fee system and raising $2 million without coming to the taxpayers, basically raising those fees from the people who have caused the problems. That's the way I see it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, is a big, big plus. I'm sure that that's going to go towards the bond issue.
Yes, sir, that goes to the debt service.
And the other thing, Sheriff, I'll look this up, and you may want to just point it out for all of our sake. There are other facilities that are going to be in this building, and would you just name those other 3 or 4 facilities?
Well, we hope. We don't know.
hope.
Obviously,
Okay.
our focus, our primary concern is the crime lab.
Okay.
But to, again, be more efficient and not go back to the drawing board
Right.
time after time, if there's enough money, then we will do addendum. There are 2 addendums to the
Okay.
project. The first addendum would move the investigative division, the major crimes, the guys that handled the murders, the rapes, the robberies, move them in under the same roof, if you will. That's the first addendum. So that's why you see a second on the bid proposal, if you will. That would make us more efficient in transfer of information, be closer to the evidence type thing, and be able to do a better job in delivery of service. The last of the addendums, again, only if there's enough money. Keep
Right.
that in mind, which we're not anticipating, but we certainly didn't want to go back to the drawing board and lose opportunity of timing. I think everyone agrees because of construction and all of the things involved, it's better to capitalize on timing. The last would be a refiguration of the space that those investigators are taken out of, to put in that space basically a training auditorium where we can bring large numbers of law enforcement people together within our own agency and municipal governments to that location and do seminars and education and training. So that's the 3, but again, only if the money's available. One thing that I didn't mention, and I think is, and if I did, I want to repeat it. We're doing this without asking the taxpayers for additional revenue through the innovation and efficiency of the office, and most importantly, as you pointed to, Chairman, is the fee.
And Sheriff, let me say one last thing, and I'm sorry, is that Mr. Belisario?
Yes,
You're so patient, I appreciate it, okay?
that's my job, to be patient.
It just so happens, okay, and my colleagues know this, I know Ms. Pat knows it, we get a pamphlet. It's not a magazine, it's like a newsletter, but more of a paper, called NACO. We're a member of the National Association of Counties, okay? St. Tammany parishes, along with all of the other parishes in the United States. And they had a very interesting article, and I happened to read the whole article, went online, and looked up the statistics, because they told you how to do it. And in St. Tammany Parish, we are number 1 in the state in many areas where it's good to be number 1. Okay.
No question.
One of those is the least amount of violent crimes. We're number 1 in the state. More importantly, when I looked it up further, we are tied for the lowest level of violent crime with a score of 6 That's the lowest score given to any county in the entire United States, considered to be above the 90th percentile. Okay?
Yes, sir.
And it just so happens that I'm reading this article, and I mean, we're high in healthcare, you know, we're high in all the things that matter. But knowing you were coming tonight, and I'm reading this and looking it up, and I'm going, well, I suspected we were doing really well, but this confirms it.
Yes, sir.
But it compares us to the whole 50 states. So, congratulations.
Thank you, sir. And those were some of the stats that I didn't want to bore you with, so I thank you for saying them.
Okay.
You know, and we are incredibly proud of that. And those are the things that are important to our residents. Now, many times we become comfortable. As residents, we say, what are the odds of me being impacted by a crime? And I did cite in that decade comparison, I cited the worst of all crimes, and that is murder. But I also have the numbers for burglary. Now, burglary may not be important unless it's your house that's broken into. Burglary in the first decade, 11,819 reported. In the second decade, 7,339. With a doubling of the population, and I think some will tell you affluency. You would think that those residents would be more victimized, but because of stepped-up efforts by our people in uniform and the technology and scientists that we bring to bear is why we enjoy such results. And I'll leave you with one last stat, and I promise you guys I won't use stats anymore. Just in violent crime, a bit of information. The national average of solve rate for violent crime is 47%. We enjoy an 80% violent crime solve rate. That's your rapes, your robberies, your murders, things like that. That's almost unheard of with a population of our size. And let's not forget our proximity to New Orleans.
Yep.
So, Mr. Belisari?
Thank you, Mr. Belisari.
Jerry addressed one of my questions on the financial side. One of the things that piqued my interest, because Richie Ortega and I were looking at a potential zoning case a couple months ago for an outdoor shooting range. If I'm correct, they're going to be removed, because you have to have an outdoor shooting range that has to be, what, 1 mile away from a residency? That's what we
I'm
were
not
told
sure I
back
follow
then.
you. The range is not incorporated into this. If you looked at the plans, there is, I guess, on the plans what's considered a range, and that's for these guys to be, and she can explain that to you,
Okay.
to shoot a weapon, determine
Okay,
distance
so
and
it's
stuff like that.
All right, so it has nothing to do with the certifications, so it's just the indoor shooting range for the testing they have to do.
Yeah, that would be, you want to talk about that just a second, Norm?
Yes, sir. That's, we use that for distance determination testing. Say, for instance, if somebody was involved in a crime and they were shot, you have a disbursement of gunpowder that may end up on their clothing. Well, we take that size and mark it and figure it out, and then we go back to the range, use the same ammo, the same weapon, and we replicate that to determine how far the bad guy was from the victim, and then that can corroborate a story for our detectives. So everything we do directly relays back to our investigators to help them progress in their investigation.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Falconer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sheriff, thank you for coming tonight.
Yes, sir.
You didn't have to do this, and we appreciate it, because this is clarifying a lot of issues. And I think the primary question that has been out in the public's mind you've addressed, and that is there, redundancy between your office and the coroner? I mean, we've, believe me, been, as everyone knows, wrestling with the coroner issue, and so this
Yes, sir, I
is good to
understand.
be able to make that clear. Gene has covered the financial end. I mean, we're as every agency in state, local, and national government trying to monitor the bottom line as closely as we can. And as my background being in the construction business, I mean, when I saw the information on the Dodge report, I just had two basic questions about that. It listed a $10.5 million construction budget. It says in the report that it's a 22,000 square foot facility, which works out to me to about $470 some odd dollars a square foot. And I checked RS Means, and for a hospital medical facility, it goes from 230 a foot to, on the high side, give a little bit, and it'll be 330. And I just wondered if you could explain the specific characteristics of your facility that would cause that additional cost to be found
Sure.
on the
Well,
project.
as you know, I'm not an architect, nor do I play one on TV, so I won't try. I can tell you that question has come up before. We're fortunate to have Kieran here with us tonight. I asked him to come just in case any of those questions came up, so he can probably address that far better than me.
Thanks, Sheriff. And Reed, thanks for your question. As
Karen,
you know,
just for the record, I'm going to state your name for it.
oh, Kieran Weldon.
There
I'm
you
an
go.
architect and owner of FLWB Architects, Fauntleroy, Latham, Weldon, Barre in Covington, Louisiana. We've been around for 31 years. We were fortunate enough to work with the sheriff. I also have known Reed for 15 years. Reed, here's where we are. When we got hired to work with the sheriff, we looked at the guidelines for DHH, which have changed dramatically since, and you were being very generous about how you described your existing building. It's a metal shed that houses their crime lab. This is going to be something that is going to be very prominent and nice, but not a Cadillac. Okay, we have spent a lot of time looking at what is standard, and one of the things we also looked at was the sheriff was very clear that we are not going to put all three of these jobs as part of the base bid. Now, I'm going to be very technical for some of you who don't know. He called it an addendums, they're alternates. There's a bid alternate, there's several of them, okay? The base bid is the crime lab. That is right now less than $300 a foot. And that we priced out, and it is based upon what Baton Rouge had, and they just built, in line of what they're doing right now. We have gone through 3 months of value engineering to make sure before it went out to bid, to take out anything that we felt was not in keeping with what is standard for this facility. And the sheriff was very clear of that. And we did not over-design it in the beginning, but now we're looking at it closer and closer because of budgets. So then we also have two alternates, which is the detectives building, and also the training facility. So when you look at that, it's very misleading, about $400 a square foot. I can tell you right now, that includes parking, that includes a lot of site work, because there's a boulevard that we have to extend. But there is nothing in here that is going to be a silver-plated Cadillac building that you would be, as a taxpayer, asking, why did we pay for this? My tax money went to that? No. This is something that is state-of-the-art, but also very much in keeping with what the citizens of St. Tammany, as a taxpayer, would expect for a crime lab. And the sheriff has been very, very consistent about making sure that we withhold his budget requirements. So the 10 million, as you know, we have to establish by public bid, a number. It may or may not be the final bid number, but we have to establish that number based upon current public bid law. What it comes in at will be something that will be determined by public bid, which we have, right now we have, I think, 5 people that picked up bids right now, 5 firms.
Let me ask one other follow-up question, if I might. It also listed as part of the scope of work that there would be some modifications and renovations to the existing administration building out there. You may have already, that may be part of the...
That's the training,
and
that's what he was
so forth.
talking about, the training facility.
I'd like you to just
But that's an
clarify
alternate.
that. Yeah.
That is an alternate.
But just-
Once again, there's a base bid, which is the crime lab. Then there is the detectives building. Then there is this training alternate. When the detectives move out of their existing conditions, then that is an alternate, the last one,
Right.
to be able to renovate that. But once again, as you know, as an architect, it's an alternate. It is, and in public bid, you take them in order.
Right. Now, you and I understand how it works, believe me, but I'm just trying to clarify for the public that when you read the initial description of the work, you might be misled into thinking that it's a brand-new building. What in the heck are you modifying a brand-new building for? Not brand new, but the...
Well, the crime lab's brand new.
But my point is, in the administration
Oh,
building, the modifications to the administration building will be there to
internal.
accommodate this alteration of the staff.
Only if by, as you know,
Sure, and it'll be an alternate.
if they accept the crime lab, then they have money for the detectives, then the last one, which he's already said pretty much, we would renovate well, you asked. I
I
gotta
got
tell
it,
you.
no, that's okay. We're
Yeah,
okay.
it's not a new building. It's renovating the space that they are disassociated from.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Mr. Falcon. Mr. Ortiz.
I'd like to thank the sheriff for coming, for one thing. And I can explain some of the decade of the 80s and the 90s. I didn't work there in the 80s, I worked there in the 90s.
You notice I looked at you when I said that.
But the crime lab that they have now, really and truly, I don't know how they've lasted as long as they have it. When I was in there, the roof was leaking. Last time I was there, part of the roof was leaking, and it was a maintenance garage. It's where they redid the cars and fixed the cars for us, and it's a Big Ten building. They need something new. And to go back to me working there, I did, and it took a year, 2 years to get stuff back from the state. And you got a man sitting in jail, waiting to go to trial, and you're waiting for the evidence to come back. And then I'm gonna open up a can of worms here, but CSI came on TV, and they want to know why we couldn't do DNA in the next room while they were waiting. You know, people just, they don't, I mean, really, truly, the public doesn't understand. So to get to a state-of-the-art crime lab, I'm all for you, Sheriff.
Thank you, sir.
I think, Mr. Ortiz, that guy Caruso with CSI, he may be a little bit better actor than you. That might be, I don't know.
I'm not even going to go there.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Sheriff, and your staff for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
I'll be very brief. Of course, we appreciate the information that you've shared with us, and the young lady mentioned about duplication of services, and we appreciate that. But there was a question that came to mind about the crime lab, a couple of them, matter of fact. Will any of the city and town policing agencies that have crime labs utilize your facility, and where will it be located, number two? And number three, the costs associated with the construction. We understand that the fee schedule that you've utilized already to get these funds, and that's going to help pay down the debt.
Yes, sir.
But just for the general public, as Reed said, so that they can understand totally where the money, the $10 million you talked about, where is it going to come from to pay for this construction?
Well, 2 of the $10 million is already in place since the court fees began. That money has been saved, and it is sitting in the account and will be some of the first money used. The Sheriff's Office was able to get a bond commission approval for revenue bond, which would basically be the revenues that are generated from here on out on that court fee, and whatever is not, whatever doesn't cover that debt, then the Sheriff's Office will cover it. I think your first or second question, there are no municipal crime labs. Again, as we can all see now, this is a very costly business. The Sheriff's Office is the chief law enforcement agency of the parish, and we have the obligation to provide that service. So there wouldn't be any redundancy from any municipal level. They may have, for example, Slidell, I believe, has a technician that goes out and for their burglaries and more minor crimes. But we have great working partnerships with all of our municipalities, and we meet regularly to discuss these issues. And the services of the Sheriff's Office are available parish-wide, inside or outside of any jurisdiction. And it starts with the great working relationship we have with our municipal partners. And I forget what the third one was. It will be located on Brown Switch Road, behind our complex. And if that answered that, I want to run back to Reed real quick. I understand your question is we have a new building that's currently sitting there. I would equate your question to if you move this chamber, if you decided this would no longer be your council chambers and you moved it next door, you would either leave this space sitting empty, or you would repurpose it for something else. What we're looking to do, if the money is available, again, we did not have taxation here. We have a certain amount of money. So if we have money available, we will convert that for a place, auditorium, where we can bring large numbers of our staff together, save money by bringing educators in as opposed to sending our deputies across the country. We'll be able to save more money and be more efficient by doing that. So I hope that answered that question a little better.
Just to follow up, Sheriff, the $10 million that's going to be bonded out, for how long would that be, a period?
$8 million will be bonded out. 2's already in place.
Okay.
2 plus is already in place, and I believe 20 years, Chief? Yeah, 20 years.
20 years?
Yes, sir.
And you've got 16 employees now?
How many?
16, I think she
Oh,
said.
and the crime lab, we have
And the crime
700
lab.
total.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why we need a little bit larger auditorium. Yes, we have 700 employees. Now, that incorporates everything from the enforcement to corrections to courthouse to civil, tax collection. That's everything that we do.
So the increased space and facilities will not facilitate you having to have more employees? Will you have to hire
No,
more?
no, actually, not at all. Again, it will be a training center, probably the size of this room, where all of the detectives currently are housed. They will move under roof with the crime lab, and Richie could probably do a much better job explaining that importance than me. But if it doesn't happen, look, we're good. We can get the most vital component is the crime lab. We talked about the excellence of our courts, and that's what brings all of the success to our parish. But let's not forget, we also have a good, solid defense bar in St. Tammany Parish. I think at last count, Terry, several hundred defense lawyers right around the courthouse. These guys, as we have gotten better, they have gotten better. And it's their job to defend these clients, and they will go to all lengths and spend sometimes great deals of money. If the sheriff's office fails, then certainly you begin to lose cases. And the one thing that I've learned from the South Shore, if you don't believe that rampant crime will cause for sale signs to go up in good neighborhoods, look to the South Shore. I don't believe any one of us can let that happen here. I will spend every waking hour trying to educate the public and let them see the difference between a crime lab and the coroner's morgue. We could probably spend hours talking about that, but they are two totally different entities. I think some of the confusion was caused because the morgue was sold as a crime lab. It is not. There is one crime lab for law enforcement, and is provided by the sheriff of St. Tammany Parish. I think I've seen one more light.
Mr. Stefanski.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Sheriff, thank you for coming by tonight. I do appreciate the update, but I would tell you that from my colleagues here, one of the first groups that I ever met from the sheriff's office driving one of these crime vans. They lived just a few doors down from me, and I would see them come in, and they had to be on call, I think, all hours of the night and everything. If a crime happened, they had to go at that time and start getting stuff. And I kept asking them, how do you keep track of this and where do you do it? And so they invited me to the crime lab, which a long time ago was really in an old building that I think has probably been torn down since then. I don't know, but then they moved, and I'll tell you, even today, I've been there once. It's been a couple years ago. I would suggest to my colleagues and to probably anybody listening on TV or anywhere that if they want to go see what's done with the sheriff's office, call them up and ask them, and go see a tour of what the crime lab does. I would tell you today that one of the things with evidence is, and it comes from things like NCIS, Jerry, and places like that. You may not understand, you may not know that you can't get a DNA test done overnight like they do on TV. But the one thing you do learn from there is it's got to be a clean area. If evidence gets contaminated, your case goes down the tube. And I think that's the thing that this new building and this new office will provide to the sheriff. I don't know how they keep it clean today, because it is a very difficult situation where they are. But not only go to the sheriff, but go to the coroner and take a look and take a tour of the new coroner's facility, and you'll see the differences between the two, and you'll see what needs to be done to actively and successfully oppose crime in this community, and make certain that the people who do commit it are taken away and put away for some period of time. If you don't do that with this kind of a facility, then we're going to be in trouble. So thank you for coming tonight, and I would again encourage you all to not only go see the sheriff's crime lab, but go see the coroner's lab as well, and you'll see a major difference between the two. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And if I can comment on one brief thing about, you are exactly right, and what keeps Captain Powell and really all of us up at night, when you talk about cleanliness, it's not what you and I would walk in and say, wow, this is a clean room. It's the unseen contaminants that can destroy a case. And I ask of all of you to remember the crimes that you've seen profiled in your communities. One that sticks in my mind very quickly is James McGee, who gunned down his children and his wife. Can you imagine the outrage that you and our residents would have if, because of incompetence, whether it be physical structure or personal, we lost that case? In fact, we got double death sentences in that case. That's what we're talking about, and the importance that that this is to our parish. And again, whether you relate it to the potential for sale signs or any other aspect of it, it's all of the things that come to bear. Our parish is at a point in time where we cannot stumble. Millions upon millions of dollars are being pumped into the judicial system in New Orleans. If they start hitting on all cylinders and become effective, then certainly criminals will flee. They will go elsewhere. We must be prepared. That's not a scare tactic. It's a matter of fact. We've experienced it in this parish several times. Criminals by nature are coward. They will go where it's easiest to commit a crime. Drugs force those things, all of the things. And again, I don't want us all to stay focused on the most horrendous of crimes. It's as simple as a car burglary. It's as simple as a burglary. We are as tenacious and dogged after a burglar as we are a murderer. And we bring all of the force of the Sheriff's Office to bear on both. And with a very competent justice system, you see low crime rates. It doesn't happen accidental. And I've assured you, and I appreciate as well, you giving me this opportunity, because I understand there is some confusion. And I've assured you I will spend every waking hour trying to inform people of exactly what we're doing. So much so that I invite anyone in the audience or any of you, I have cleared my calendar for tomorrow morning, and I've invited all of my friends on NOLA.com to come down to our office. Seriously, I have. You can go on NOLA and see it. There were many uninformed opinions there, but they too, I think for the most part, are St. Tammany Parish residents, and I look forward for the opportunity, as you said, to give them any information I can to inform them of what we're doing. But more importantly, I think, Mr. Seaver, someone said, come take a tour of our building. You will be amazed at what these folks can do. And then you'll look at the structure and say, Sheriff, you dropped the ball here. You've got to do something different. That's what drives me. That's why we're moving forward. It is the right thing to do. Is it maybe politically the best right now? I agree. No, it isn't. But I will not cower. I will continue to go forward. And I think it is the best for the residents of St. Tammany Parish.
Sheriff, I really want to thank you for coming tonight. For the people in the audience and for the people at home, just a proper understanding of the differences in the government, elected officials and so forth. The parish council has no authority over the sheriff, okay? And I say that not to say, well, okay, so what are you saying? The parish council has no place in this. No, of course we do. My point, though, is Sheriff Strain made a decision to come tonight to make the parish council aware, as, the governing authority, our parish president aware, and the people in the audience aware at our parish council meeting of what he has planned, okay? And Sheriff, we appreciate that, because you know and we know we work well together, okay? Just a quick summation, and tell me if I'm wrong in any of this. Number one, it seems to me that you did a proper job of planning well in advance, okay? Which everyone knows is the right way to do things, okay? Secondly, that included a court fee, which has raised you $2 million, and that court fee comes from the people who deserve to pay a fee, not the taxpayers, okay? There will be no new taxes with this.
None.
and that court fee will continue to pay, for the most part, maybe totally, the bond issue for the 20-year period, okay?
About half. It'll pay about half of the debt
Okay.
service. The sheriff's office will pay the
And you
rest,
have
unless you
that-
guys want to help out. Sorry, President. I tried.
Sheriff, we have our hands full where to send the dead people, excuse me for saying it, okay? But, and I have to say also, and I know you would agree, that you guys work great with the district attorney and all of the assistant DAs and prosecutors to solve these cases and to get the convictions, because we got to get the convictions. And finally, to my good friend who's looking at me right between y'all, an excellent North Shore architect,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Kieran Weldon. So thank you, Sheriff, thank you, Captain Powell, and your other people with your department.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Next item off the floor is Parish President Pat Brister's report on the status of the parish's suicide prevention program.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and this ties very well into what the sheriff was talking about earlier, I think also. But when I speak to our citizens, I talk about creating a responsive, customer-focused parish government. And when I came to this office, my vision for my administration was to give the taxpayers of this parish a government that works. These words are not a tagline on a commercial, but a promise to those that count on us to accomplish a great deal with hard-earned money. That vision and commitment has shown itself in the recent results from our suicide prevention programs. As you are aware, suicides in St. Tammany Parish significantly increased in the years 2007 and 2010. Because of this, parish officials assembled a task force of partners from the mental health community, law enforcement, and criminal justice to address this urgent crisis in our parish. As a result of this, several initiatives were put into motion. An on-call crisis response team, staffed by Volunteers of America and funded by St. Tammany Parish's Public Health Millage, was put into action in 2011 to work side by side with law enforcement to address the mental health crisis in our parish. We also welcomed help from the United Way. St. Tammany Parish government has also supported several other programs that have been funded through the Public Health Millage that was passed again by the voters this fall. Among those, the St. Tammany Outreach for the Prevention of Suicide, or STOPS, provides programs to assist in the education and prevention of suicide. The partnership and the services they have offered to families in crisis have significantly improved the mental health outcomes in our parish. Access Health Louisiana provides public health services through the federally qualified St. Tammany Community Health Clinic in Slidell. The clinic has received parish support to provide not only medical care, but also outpatient mental health services to our citizens in need. And in the last 2 years, they have seen their census numbers almost triple. The parish will continue to support these services with Access Health by the opening of outpatient mental health services in Covington for St. Tammany West in May of this year. Appropriately, May is National Mental Health Month. NAMI, the National Alliance of Mental Illness, also partners with and receives support from St. Tammany Parish to offer mental health support and recovery. NAMI provides a case manager to the 22nd Judicial System Behavioral Health Court for peer support of individuals and families suffering from mental illness, training law enforcement for responding to mental health crises, and with plans to provide group home support for the mentally ill in the near future at North Lake Behavioral Hospital on the Southeast Hospital campus. But it is the numbers that will tell the story best. At the rate of calls the crisis response team receives, they will likely get their 1,000th call sometimes late this summer, as they average between 40 and 50 calls a month to work with law enforcement for mental health crises. Over 400 families have participated in case management services. 140 families currently receive this care. During the last 2 years, over 440 support group sessions were conducted and an additional 52 educational seminars accomplished with 410 attendees. NAMI alone has had over 1,400 requests for consultation. Since the implementation of this program and the other supportive treatments, and in spite of these astonishing numbers, the calls for help, and the incredible need, that the number that rings truest is 0. When the patient and their family members receive assistance through the crisis team and these additional programs, the number of suicides from that population is 0. So of those that have received help from these incredible organizations through this program, there has not been one single instance of a suicide. Simply put, that's government that really works. I would like to introduce our partners who have made these programs and results possible. And if you would, please come up to the podium so people can see you and recognize you. Rebecca Tees with Volunteers of America Crisis Response Team. Rebecca, out there, please. Nick Richard, Executive Director of NAMI, St. Tammany. And with Nick, Celeste Falconer, who's Chairman of the Board of NAMI. Lynette Savoy, Director of STOPS. And my dear friend Liz Teague, Chief Development Officer, Access Health Louisiana. Thank you for all your work. And these are the people that are responsible for the results that you've just heard about. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that time.
Thank you, Madam President. I believe Ms. Gillum is here. Before we go back to under presentations, item 3, just wanted to recognize Mr. Carlton Dufourchot. Carlton, did I pronounce that last name correctly? Okay. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But Carlton is the director of the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway, and you know, certainly a vital roadway for many of us in St. Tammany. So, Carlton, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, Mr. Smith, certificate of recognition to the Tchefuncte Nation.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's Councilman Stefanczyk and President Bristow make their way to the podium to make the presentation. Councilman Stefanczyk is the councilman whose district that the tribe lives in, and as they come forward, Chief of the Shatai Indian tribe here in St. Tammany Parish, we want to say that this particular nation of Native Americans provide many services to our community, and many of which, some of which involve grant writing and management assistance to the local communities that go unsung and unheard of. But we're going to ask Steve at this time and the President if they would make the presentation to the Chief on behalf of what they do here in St. Tammany Parish.
You want me to read it all?
I've read plenty tonight.
Excuse me. St. Tammany Parish Government Certificate of Recognition to the Chautauqua Indians. Whereas Chautauqua Indians' first appearance in history was documented in 1550 when DeSoto marched into one of the most terrible battles ever fought in eastern United States. Whereas the Chautauquas made their first and only treaty with the United States in 1786, and since that time have never been at war with the government. That's good. Whereas, I'm sorry, Ellen.
I'm not saying a word. Sort of not.
Whereas Chautauqua Indians were pioneers in the old Florida parishes, St. Tammany Parish, Tangible, Washington, West Feliciana, St. Helena, Livingston, East Baton Rouge, and Ascension. Whereas the Chautauqua Indians of St. Tammany have been historically documented as the Bayou Chautauqua. Yeah, I'll get it right. Chautauqua. Bayou, Lacombe, Chautauqua, North Shore of Pontchartrain, Chautauqua, St. Tammany, Chautauqua, and Florida Parish, Chautauqua, all still have the same Indians, with many of the last descendants still located here today. Whereas recognition of the unique heritage, culture, and efforts to keep the tribe alive are prime considerations of current members and elders of the tribe. Proper acknowledgement is due to the ascendants who gave their lives to maintain the Chautauqua Indian tribe. St. Tammany Parish Council hereby recognizes the cultural contributions of the Chautauqua Indian tribe and the heritage it has strived to maintain throughout the years. This certificate of recognition is presented to Chief Warhorse Elwin G. Gillum on behalf of the Chautauqua Indians tribe on this 4th day of April 2013, signed by Pat Brister and T.J. Smith. Congratulations. He's had my gift.
I just want to say if we can learn how to pronounce Stefancic, then maybe he'll learn how to pronounce Shata.
Okay, moving to the consent calendar. Oh, I'm sorry. These are the items we need to pull under ordinances for introduction. We need to pull item number 1, ordinance calendar number 4966. And under resolutions, we need to pull item 10, resolution CS number C-3693. Are there any other items that would like to be pulled? Mr. Artigue. Is Mr. Artigue here? Okay, my understanding is excuse me, that's verbal off the floor. Any council member want to pull any other resolution or ordinance for introduction? No? Do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Belisario, seconded by Mr. Groby. On the consent calendar, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
Thank you. Ordinance for introduction, item 1, ordinance calendar number 4966, ordinance to amend the Parish Unified Development Code, Volume I, zoning, Section 2 and Section 5.02, relative to adding industrial laundries. Mr. Smith.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, and reference to the many discussions we've had about this already last month and at our agenda review committee, we are still poised to postpone this until next month.
Okay, so motion to postpone.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Stefancic. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
Thank you. Under resolutions, item 10, resolution CS number C-3693, resolution to approve the appointment of Leslie Montgomery as Director of Human Resources for the remainder of the 2012 through 2015 Parish President's term in office. Ms. Brister.
Yes, I would like to introduce Leslie Montgomery, our new HR person, if this passes tonight.
Okay.
Please, Leslie, if you want to come up so everybody can see you and recognize you so they can bring you all their problems. We're very happy to have Leslie. We certainly hope that you will approve this resolution. She has a tremendous background, and we need her badly. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Leslie, for coming tonight so you could meet everyone.
The last time I was here, I was being fined for my dogs getting out, so I'm much happier to be in this room tonight. $1,300 for 3 months, so.
Well, hey, you know,
Did you
we got
correct the
to make
problem?
money some kind of way.
Absolutely. I'm just glad I'm not in the list supporting the sheriff's 2 million, so I think mine
Well,
went elsewhere. So I
exactly.
think I'm good, so.
Well, prematurely, but I think welcome aboard.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here this evening, and I want to thank Parish President Brister and all of the members of the council. It's really an honor to have been selected and considered for this position. I bring 30 years of experience in human resource management, to the parish, so I'm very, very pleased and will utilize my experience and skills and knowledge to bring hopefully peace and harmony. Since everybody needs my help, everyone's been very friendly and welcoming this evening. Someone actually handed me a document from the county NACO, thank you, that said even HR directors need a hug, so I was welcomed very graciously tonight. So I look forward to bringing that here to the council, to the president, and to the citizens of the community.
Thank you
So
very
thank
much.
you.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Smith?
No. I move to approve.
Mr. Stefanczyk?
I move to approve the resolution.
Okay, motion by Mr. Stefanczyk to approve, seconded by Mr. Belisario. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Congratulations.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
members.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
Okay, moving to appeals. Appeal number 1 is William Steele appealing the zoning commission denial on February 5th, 2013, to rezone 1.54 acres located east of Pontchartrain Drive, south of Eden Isles Boulevard, from HC2 Highway Commercial District to I-1 Industrial District, Ward 9, District 13. Is Mr. Steele here?
I don't think anybody showed up from either side.
Okay.
Jerry,
Mr. Ortiz?
I'm going to move to concur with the denial.
Okay, is anyone, just to check, is anyone here regarding this appeal? Okay, so Mr. Ortiz, your motion is to concur with the denial.
Correct.
Seconded by Mr. Stefanczyk. Please vote.
Mr. Groby? Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Okay, Mr. Ortiz, I need a motion on a resolution.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Ortiz on a resolution, seconded by Mr. Stefanczyk. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
Thank you. Okay, appeal number 2 is Robert Boland appealing the zoning commission denial on February 5th, 2013 to rezone 1.01 acres located north of Highway 1088, east of Viola Street, from NC4 Neighborhood Institutional District to HC2 Highway Commercial District, Ward 4, District 5. Mr. Boland? Okay. Jake?
With your permission, Mr. Gould, I'd like to move to table this for another month.
Okay, and the people that are involved, Mr. Gould and the audience, okay with that?
Well, is anyone objecting?
No, I mean, I'm fine with the motion.
Right.
Okay, I just want to make
No,
sure.
I think Jake wants, this issue really stems around more his district than mine. Jake wants to sit down with the parties and try to see if they can find some common ground on this situation, and that's why Jake is asking that we table it one more month, and I believe Mr. Boland had agreed with that.
Okay, great. That was my question. Thank you, sir. Okay, so motion by Mr. Groby, seconded by Mr. Gould to table. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Thank you. Item 3 is George E. DeBrom et al. Appealing the zoning commission approval on March 5th, 2013 for a text change to an ordinance amending the Unified Development Code, Volume I, zoning, Section 2, definitions, to create a definition for assisted living facilities. Mr. Hand.
prior to hearing this appeal, I want to be sure that everyone understands there was some issue that was raised at the zoning commission this week about the way that the minutes were reported, and I've reviewed the tape itself twice, and an amendment was issued to the minutes to accurately reflect that there were two separate votes taken at that time. One was on the amendments, and that passed unanimously, and the second vote was on the definition as amended, and the vote was 8-3. So there's no issue regarding that particular matter, and this matter can proceed to a hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Hand. Mr. DeBron. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, did I pronounce your name correct?
No, and I'm not Mr. LeBron. My name is Duncan Kemp. I'm an attorney
I'm
representing...
sorry. State your name again, sir.
Duncan Kemp.
Duncan Kemp.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm from Hammond. I know you're not familiar with me, but anyway, I'm representing the concerned citizens of Covington in connection with this matter. And we're asking, of course, for an override of the zoning commission's actions. I have to disagree with Mr. Hand on what has occurred, and I too have looked at the video of the meeting, and it appears to me that and I am told that there were two proposed amendments to go before the zoning board. It was never stated that I could see which of these two amendments initially was being considered by the zoning board. And while there were two votes, there was one on the amendment to the amendment, which was never identified, and then a vote on the amendment that was there for consideration. So I don't think it was ever properly determined by the zoning board, nor has it been made available to the public as to exactly what the amendment was that was being considered. Then I received a copy of the amendment that I was told was coming up tonight until I got here, and then I received another copy that was on the agenda over here, which is different from the one I had originally seen. So there's been some change made between when the first amendment was proposed and now. I spoke with Jeff about this earlier, and I have not been able to analyze what the difference is between these two documents and the amendment that's being proposed. And I'm not sure Jeff has either, but he can answer that for you. But in any event, I don't think that really the council is ready at this point in time to deal with this particular issue, because I don't think it's been made clear exactly what the issue is. Now, that's a procedural issue that we're raising. But substantively, I think it's even more of a problem than the procedural issues. As you know, I'm sure, this particular property was recently, at the behest of the owners of the property, zoned MD1 under the Unified Development Code. The definition, or at least the defined purpose of an MD1 district, if you'll bear with me, I will read. The purpose of this district is to provide for the location of facilities for the long-term care and housing of individuals in need of regular supervision of health care services due to ongoing medical conditions. That's what you gentlemen and ladies adopted when you adopted the Unified Development Code. What we have here is an amendment to the permitted uses, number 3, assisted living facilities, which is in direct conflict with the defined purpose under the Unified Code of a MD1 medical residential district, because everything in this ordinance, this proposed amendment, is permissive rather than mandatory. And furthermore, nowhere in this proposed ordinance is there any reference to the definition contained in the purposes of the district, providing for regular supervision, nothing at all, or ongoing medical conditions, particularly with respect to the individual cottages. It's strictly permissive as to who lives there, as to whether or not they even seek medical attention of any kind. And what's there is strictly voluntary. So this could be, if this is adopted, there is going to be a direct conflict between the definition of assisted living facilities, which is one of the permitted uses under the MD1 medical residential district, because of these distinctions. The public is not going to be able to know which of these provisions prevails, and it's just simply a direct contradiction between the definition that's being proposed and what you've already adopted under the Unified Development Code. So we are here to ask that you override the Zoning Commission's decision, but possibly even to have it tabled tonight to cure this procedural difference, as I view it, certainly. And I can show you the difference between the original proposed ordinance that I received and the one that I got tonight. And just by looking at it, you can see the length of the proposed ordinances is entirely different. And while I have not been able to analyze it, hadn't had the length of time necessary to properly analyze it, it is different than what I received prior to this and what was apparently adopted with the Zoning Commission. So with that, I'll step out of the way and ask again that the council override the Zoning Commission's action.
Okay, Mr. Kemp, thank you. Steve, what kind of time?
I think he went over the 5-minute allotment, and I don't know whether he knew that
Well, I
or not
apologize.
ahead of
No, I
time.
didn't.
No. So you have just a little less, approximately
I'll give him
2 minutes
2 minutes.
left. About 1 minute and 45 left for rebuttal.
Okay, fine.
Okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll
All
be
right.
short. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kemp. Mr. Shane.
Good evening, Mr. Bender and Honorable Council. My name is Jeff Shane. I'm with the Jones Fussell Law Firm in Covington, and I'm here this evening representing two institutional clients that I think everyone in the room is very familiar with. I represent Christwood Retirement Community, which is a facility that has been in St. Tammany Parish for nearly 20 years. With me this evening, I have their Executive Officer, Steve Holzab, their Chief Administrative Officer, Dave Cook, who are in the back. And having attended a special Executive Board meeting this week, they have asked me to express to you their unanimous support by resolution for your adoption of the definition that has been recommended by the Zoning Commission for assisted living facility. I also have the pleasure of representing the Archdiocese of New Orleans, who most recently, of course, has pursued the opportunity to have a parcel zoned near Judge Tanner Drive for the construction of a retirement community to be known as St. Anthony's Gardens. With me this evening, I have John Eckholt, the CFO of the Archdiocese, Mr. Ken Schwartzfeger, our project manager, Mr. Lee Lyles, who is with LCS, a national consulting firm with regard to retirement communities, but perhaps most importantly, many people who feel very strongly about the need to have a strong definition for a retirement community, and that is many of the parishioners and friends of the Most Holy Trinity Catholic Church. That includes, of course, Father Berg, his administrative assistant, Ray Farrow, and many of the parishioners who are in the audience and have been very patient this evening because they wanted to hear the discussion by you concerning this very important matter. In response to Mr. Kemp's comments, first let me say I, of course, as many in the audience, were in attendance at the March Zoning Commission meeting, and as they say sometimes in the business, the eye in the sky does not lie, which means the video of the meeting and the audio, of course, will reflect what in fact happened. I don't think it's important for me to debate what I remember hearing or not hearing. I will tell you, though, because I think it's important, that all of the parties in interest at that zoning commission meeting are in fact here this evening. So I don't want anyone from the public to believe that perhaps there are people that were misled or did not understand what happened at the Zoning Commission meeting. I personally believe that there was a very clear, unanimous vote for a requested amendment by Commissioner Matthews, and later I believe that there was a very clear vote as it relates to the Commission's job to make a recommendation to you. Either a recommendation that you consider adoption or a recommendation that you not consider the adoption of the definition. So I do not believe there's a procedural defect. We in fact have another public hearing, assuming this matter goes forward, when the ordinance comes up for adoption at your May meeting. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about the specifics of what's before you this evening. It's interesting that in our code, and in particular zoning classification MD1, we have 4 permitted uses. And by chance, perhaps one of the more significant of the 4 permitted uses is an assisted living facility. However, we do not have a definition in our Unified Development Code that tells us what an assisted living facility is. That is the reason primarily that my clients believe that good government demands and requires that you tell all of the people, not just the people in the retirement community, but a business, but also people that live in our parish, what they should expect, what they deserve, how they will be protected, and how their needs will be accommodated. So we believe that it's very important, and we in fact believe that parish government is wise in seeking to place a definition for assisted living facility into the code. We think it's also important that parish government apparently looked to the definition that's employed by the Department of Health and Hospitals in Baton Rouge, and in fact has created the definition for an assisted living facility, which is in fact a licensed institution by the state of Louisiana. And we are glad that your definition embodies those principal concepts as pronounced by the state. But furthermore, we think it's wise that you have envisioned that retirement communities may likely consist of not only assisted living facilities, but may also have components in the marketing world referred to as independent living, which provide people an opportunity to have a residential opportunity. Is that the end of my 5 minutes?
Yes.
Okay. I believe I'll take about another minute, as Mr. Kemp did, if that's okay. We believe it's wise, though, that the definition also envisions the likelihood, as in the case with Christwood, that we're going to have independent living in medical districts, and it attempts to restrict and regulate what type of activities we will have in those situations. Age-restricted, senior-only, the providing of health service opportunities, and I disagree with Mr. Kemp in that I believe the definition makes it very clear that there is, in fact, a real medical connection between the assisted living facility, the independent living, and the other components that you will find in these facilities. Last but not least, I would suggest to you that good government demands that you give all of the people, a good definition for assisted living facilities. And we ask that you take the step tonight by concurring with the Zoning Commission recommendation and moving forward with this definition through your legislative process. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Yes, sir.
Very briefly.
Okay, I'm going to rule that both you, Mr. Kemp, have 2 minutes left, and I'll say that Mr. Shane has about 2 minutes as well.
Okay, and I don't think I'll take that long. Again, we don't have any problem with the concept of a definition, and as Mr. Shane said, a good definition. Our position is this particular definition is not a good definition because it does not comport with the Unified Development Code, and particularly with respect to its definition of the purpose of a medical residential district. So if you haven't, I would ask that you take the opportunity to look at the definition as set forth in Section 5.2701 and compare that with the permissive language of the proposed ordinance, whichever one it might happen to be, generated by the amendment. And you will notice, and as Mr. Shane said, the proposed definition of assisted living provides for opportunities for health care services which are not particularly defined. The definition of the purpose of the district is mandatory, as I read it, for long-term care and housing of individuals in need of regular supervision or health care services due to ongoing medical conditions. That's the definition that's in the code. Whatever definition we think should be adopted for assisted living should comport with this definition of the purpose of the district for an MD1 designation. With that, I'll
Thank you,
Mr.
sir.
Shane.
Steve, how much time does Mr. Kemp have left?
Probably about 10 seconds left.
Okay, we'll say 15 seconds. Mr. Shane, you have 2 minutes.
With regard to the Mr. Kemp's comments about the purpose, we can all read the purpose, and I think it's important that there is not a conjunctive, but rather the key provision that he keeps reading talks about the need of regular supervision or health care services due to ongoing medical conditions. I don't believe it is necessary that each and every word and phrase of the purpose of a zoning district be literally embodied in the definition of each permitted use in that district. Let me say that again. I don't think it's necessary that you have to feel that because you have a stated purpose for a zoning district, that every word or every phrase is incumbent to be in each use. There are, in fact, 4 permitted uses in MD1. So, and I believe, quite frankly, the definition for assisted living facility addresses the purpose that is stated for that district. So I do believe that there is the connexity, and I think that one of the nice things about having time this evening listening to the other parts of your meeting, I did have a chance to read the ordinance that was placed. And I believe that that ordinance is suggestive of an amendment that might be made this evening. And as I appreciate that amendment, having read it for an hour and a half, I think it even further ensures that there's not only going to be a mandate that health services be provided, but there is a mandate that everyone that is a member or participant in an assisted living facility must in fact be paying a recurring uniform fee and must in fact be receiving those services. And I think that's done to make sure that we don't end up with residential projects in medical districts. Residential projects belong in residential districts. And I think this definition is needed in order to ensure that the purpose of MD1 is in fact achieved.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. What kind of time does Mr. Shane have left, Steve? He's finished?
The thing just went off, Jerry.
Yeah.
So he's out of time, and they should
Okay,
have about,
Mr.
they should have about
Kemp,
30
you have
seconds left.
20 seconds left. How many?
30, I'd say.
Third?
Again,
Okay.
with all due respect to Mr. Shane, I disagree with his interpretation of the amendment. But we do have many people here tonight who I am representing who are opposed to this, and certainly we would like the council to be aware that there is significant opposition. I believe I'm correct in my analysis, and again, we ask that you override.
Okay. All right, we'll come back to the council. Let's see. Mr. Gould, do you want me to let you go last?
No, I'd like to go first, to be honest with you.
Okay, because I got lights on all over the place.
Okay. Well, let me clarify a few things. We are voting on the, or hearing the appeal on the amended version that was sent to us from the zoning commission. There's a document that I placed out there, or asked staff to place out there, because it contains some additional language that, should this definition be concurred with by the council, I would insist that we add it to it. And the purpose of that is, I think it makes it a better, stronger, tighter ordinance or definition. The things that I wrote, and I'll go from where the amended version was approved. It says, said facility may include an age-restricted adult housing component, attached or detached, for which LA/DHH does not require licensing, but in which the residents, and this is new language, are provided assistance with activities of daily living. And then it goes back to the regular language, or the previous language, and it says, and access to activities, functions, and health-related services offered to residents of the associated LA/DHH licensing portion of the facility. New language now. In order to meet the health care needs of the residents. Furthermore, said residents shall be required by said facility to pay to the facility a recurring uniform fee for the cost of said activities, functions, and health-related services. The age restrictions must be in accordance with all applicable laws. That's the body that I would hope that we would, if we agree to concur with the recommendation, that this would be included into the introduction of the definition. Now, that will hold over for 30 days if we do so. One of the things that is I've been looking at is that I don't want this property or any other property or any other facilities to be be something different than what we intended. I believe the ordinance for this definition, as I spoke of the extra language, embodies what we approved at Christwood twice. I believe there's another facility out in the east that came in under the same scenario, and now the Archdiocese is coming in to do the same thing. There's a bit of a difference, as I understand it, in the functionality, is that Christwood, because they have a buy-in, they're required to license that full portion of the facility, detached and detached. So the villas that they have, or cottages, whatever they have, are under a license. That's not exactly the same scenario for payment with the Archdiocese. As I understand it, when they spoke to the Archbishop, he did not want to charge a buy-in. And because there's no buy-in, the state doesn't license that portion of it. Okay? But they intend on doing the exact same thing. Now, the only way to take it and ensure that is to put the language that I've asked added into this thing, because it addresses that side. I would like to, I believe there's an expert for Christwood that's here, or the Archdiocese. Mr. Shane, do you have someone who does this for both companies?
Yes, sir.
May I?
Sure. This is Mr. Lee Lyles with LCS, who actually does serve as a consultant to both Christwood and is helping us with St. Anthony's Gardens.
Yes, I'm Lee Lyles, Vice President and Director of Project Development for Life Care Services. I'm based in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, let me ask you a question right off the bat. Did I articulate the situation correctly?
You're correct. Christwood, as a entry fee CCRC, is licensed by the state of Louisiana. St. Anthony's Gardens, as a rental retirement community is not licensed by the state of Louisiana. The assisted living portion of St. Anthony's Gardens will be licensed by the state of Louisiana.
Okay. The assisted living facilities, they have a medical director?
The assisted living residence provides assistance with activities of daily living for those residents. It's staffed by licensed nurses, and we will have a medical director, yes.
Okay. The medical director for, let's say, the other project where we're talking about an unlicensed facility would still oversee the medical operations and services that are going to be required to be provided through this ordinance. Is that correct?
Correct. The day-to-day operations of Christwood and the day-to-day operations of St. Anthony's Gardens will be very, very similar.
Now, there's been some discussion that these facilities could be converted into a conventional apartment complex. With this ordinance, I don't believe that's possible. But even if it were possible, under what circumstances would you allow someone that, say, is underage to come in here? Say you have an age restriction of 60.
Under no circumstance would we allow someone to come in under the age restriction. You know, the age restriction is a average of the occupants of the community. Every primary occupant has to be at or above the age restriction. The average of the occupants, being husbands and wives, etc., has to average 80% of that has to average over the set age restriction.
Okay, let me ask you another question. Is there a possibility for children to inhabit this place?
No, children are prohibited from occupying.
Okay, let me ask you, what I've looked at as far as the cost of being a resident there, based on numbers I was given, it runs between $3,400 a month to $5,800 a month, depending on your situation and with the accommodations. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And let me ask you, is for two people going in a two-bedroom, one-bath room, what would the cost be?
It would be close to $5,000.
Okay, so
per month.
So each individual that's going to reside there will pay for all the services.
That's correct. I think the best illustration is if you take a two-bedroom market rate apartment. And I don't know this exactly, but I would anticipate that in St. Tammany Parish, the rent on that apartment might be $1,000, $1,500 a month. If you take the same size apartment in St. Anthony's Gardens, that rent is going to be closer to $5,000 a month. The difference in those two rental rates is the services that are provided.
Do the residents, I would assume these residents are retired.
Yeah, we would anticipate, we operate over 100 retirement communities across the country. The average age is going to be close to 80 years of age for the residents in St. Anthony's Gardens. So yes, they're retired. These are people that are making decisions to enter a retirement community. They're living independently and on their own, and then they're planning. They're getting to an age. They're getting to 75, 80 years of age. They realize that they're aging. They're becoming more frail. They want the opportunity to live independently as long as possible, but they understand they need attention and they need supervision. So they enter into a retirement community so that they can age in place and they can plan for the eventuality of needing, as they continue to age and they are going to need more care, more supervision. So they're making a decision to place themselves in a community where that can happen and without having to move away from that community.
Okay. I pulled the definition of assisted living up on Wikipedia. And one of the things was, one of the services or the descriptions was that the facility assists in the activities of daily living And that's going to be provided to the unlicensed area as well. Is that correct?
The independent residents will have a package of services. Those services will include transportation, meals, daily supervision in terms of that they will be checked on each day, activities, a wellness program, and then as they need, as they continue to age, priority access to the assisted living. So yes.
Right. Let me read you something that jumped out at me. People who live in the newer assisted living facilities usually have their own private apartment. There is usually no special medical monitoring equipment that one would find in a nursing home, and their nursing staff may not be available at all hours. However, trained staff are usually on site around the clock to provide other needed services. Is this what these facilities are doing now? Is this the model that Christwood's is employing and is intended at the Archdiocese project?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, my position's going to be, in order to vote for this, we have to have this additional language. And with that, I'm going to turn the floor over to your next speaker. Thank you, sir.
Let's see. It's either Mr. Groby was first and Mr. Dean was second, or Mr. Dean was first. Mr. Dean, you're the senior psychologist of the group, so we'll go with Mr. Dean first and then Mr. Groby. Mr. Dean.
I appreciate the respect. I have a couple of things, and I understand the concern of the residents in the area, because you know, no one wants this big nice place and then right next to it is apartments. And believe me, being representing District 1 for over these last 9 years, I understand a lot of what the residents are concerned about. They're worried about apartments. They're worried about Section 8. I've heard every fear that there ever is. But it seems to me that if we follow what Mr. Gould is saying, and we attach that, and we attach the independent living with the assisted living, then what Mr. I believe Kemp was concerned about, you look at it, if you attach it this way, it's not licensed by the state, but if you attach it that way, what Mr. Gould is suggesting, then you can see it as a continuum of care. That's the way I would look at it. It's a continuum of care from independent to assisted to nursing home, if you will, much like Christwood is in my district. We don't have a better neighbor than Christwood. And I understand that you understand that too, but if you look at it as a continuum of care and you lock it in the way that he's saying, we've heard from this gentleman here that there's going to be services provided to the independent living residents, and how it's all connected. I don't see how we cannot. And I appreciate what Mr. Gould did. I think it's real good, real good action on his part. So that's what I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Dean. Mr. Groby.
I have a question for Mr. Shane. In a comment earlier, you had said something and it kind of caught my attention because it kind of bothers me. You said earlier, basically, in your remarks that you felt, with respect to the statements or the wording not matching exactly, it may not be that important. And I got to disagree with you, because we've all seen, if we can get this definition closer, if that's the intent of the board, our council, if we don't have this really close, that at some future date, someone may want to interpret it, and Lord knows every 14 of us has seen where that leads. We cannot allow for more interpretation, so we got to make sure that we're really close. So
yes, sir.
I'm just following up on your comment. I'm a little concerned about any possibility of interpretation at a later date.
Sure. Well, I appreciate your comment, and I think I wasn't articulate as to what I was trying to kind of convey to you guys. We have had other significant land use cases in this parish within the last 12 to 24 months where we were lacking the identification of a permitted use in a district and had to depend on good interpretation, in my view, that was provided by our planning department. I think that maybe the point you're making is that we want to make sure that we in fact do have not only illustrated permitted uses, but also good definitions for those permitted uses. The point that I was trying to make is that I believe that the purpose of a purpose section in a zoning classification is to create the general parameters under which the permitted uses in that district should operate. I do not think it is critical that each and every phrase literally found in the purpose in fact be embodied in the definition of each permitted use. I believe that in this case, all of the bases have been touched, particularly with the inclusion of the suggested language that we have seen this evening, if in fact the council elects to concur and amend the ordinance. So I think you and I are on the same page, and that is there needs to be a clear, illicit definition, and it should in fact embody the concepts that are in the purpose.
Thank you. Mr. Belisario.
I really want to hear from Sidney. He's sitting over nice and quiet. I want to hear his interpretation from the zoning commission to now what we're trying to amend, because I don't see a problem with this. I went through 7 years with my mom going through this process, from independent living through memory lane to death. So I want to hear from you and your feelings with what was approved by the zoning commission to what the additions are, because the one thing I agree is we're putting more requirements in to make it more stringent, and it's almost like, how far do we have to go?
I think that the original language adopted by the zoning commission, I think it covered where the commission felt it was necessary to go to allow the unlicensed portions. When the speakers talked about two ordinances being an original ordinance and amended ordinance at the commission level, the original advertised ordinance was for a licensed facility only. When the staff learned of the situation at Christwood and the situation at the property on the east, and in fact another location that we zoned MD1 for an assisted living, it doesn't have the independent units, but it does have an independent living portion up in Covington, right off of the Trace. It became apparent that the industry has unlicensed portions. So what we did is we had the original language presented to the commission, and then recommended an amended language that would allow the unlicensed portion and let the commission make the decision on which way they wanted to go. I think it's clear the decision that they made was to allow the unlicensed portion. I think that this additional language just strengthens the link, a question that was raised at that meeting, the link to the medical services and requiring the link to the medical services. I think the new language strengthens that and strengthens the intent of the commission. I think it's the intent of everybody that this facility be strongly tied to the licensed portion of the assisted living facility. If it's the wish of the council to go ahead and allow the unlicensed portions. At the staff level, at the commission level, and we'll see with the council level, I think the intent has always been that this would be one complete facility, not that it be allowed to be broken up into separate uses, which would possibly conflict with the MD1 purpose.
Okay, thanks.
Ms. O'Brien?
Okay, I just want to make sure that we have a good understanding of the age restrictions. Am I understanding correctly that the only way someone under age 55 gets in is if they are a spouse of someone who qualifies as far as age is concerned? Is that correct? And there is only a certain percentage of that population, of the overall population, that would be allowed to be under 55, correct? Now, what happens if there is a married couple and the husband is old enough to get in, but the wife would not be allowed to get in because of her age, and the husband passes away? What happens to the spouse who would be under 55?
Why don't you come to the mic?
Everything you've said thus far is correct. Those are, of course, standards that are created under federal law, and in particular response to your last question, a widow or widower would be allowed to stay, but if they in fact chose to remarry, the person that they remarry would in fact have to be beyond the requisite age.
Okay, now, Mr. Shane, what percentage of the population would be allowed to be under 55?
Under federal law, the maximum amount is 20%.
Okay.
But that does not mean that, for example, two persons married that each were under the age of 55 would be allowed entry. But it is to accommodate the fact that you could have a 55-year-old come in with a 53-year-old. But again, it does not mean that you can have over 20% of that constituency. If you do that, you are then violating the opportunity that the federal law gives you to create an age-restricted environment to provide seniors with what we'll call a seniors-only environment.
Okay. Thank you.
Jerry, I just have one question on the ages. This is for Jerry, for Jeff Shane. What is the average age or the age range of the residents in Christwood?
I've asked the average entry age is between 75 and 78. I'm going to ask Steve and Dave to tell me if I'm mistaken. About 79, but if we took a census of everyone at Christwood, the median age would be 80 plus, 82. So the average age of entry is 79 and the median age is 82. The total number of residents in Christwood, all roughly? About 220 persons. And this model for St. Anthony's intends to follow that same basic demographic pattern in terms of age of entry and things of that nature.
For entry at Christwood, what is the base age that somebody must be to obtain admittance?
Right now, I believe that their age is 60 that they're using on their applications. That's a matter of choice. It obviously could go down as low as 55. And if the next question is what is the projected age for St. Anthony's Gardens, it's projected to be 60 as well.
Okay.
Okay, I have a few comments and questions. First of all, Mr. Kemp, okay. Now, I just wanted to say to you, Mr. Kemp, and to Mr. Shane, I very much appreciate, and I know the council does, both your and Mr. Shane's professionalism in your presentations tonight. Very, very appreciated. I also want to thank the audience, both sides of the audience on this issue, for being extremely polite. We all appreciate that, okay? Now, Mr. Kemp, if I could, I have a question. In looking at the section 5.27 MD1 medical residential district, okay? The purpose of this district is to provide for the location of facilities for the long-term care and housing of individuals in need of regular supervision or health care services due to ongoing medical conditions, okay? Now, the way I read this is, and I think that I was thinking this earlier, and then Mr. Shane, I believe, was articulating this towards the end of his presentation. The purpose of this district is to provide for the location of facilities for the long-term care and housing of individuals in need of either regular supervision due to ongoing medical conditions or in need of health care services due to ongoing medical conditions.
Okay.
You would agree with that the word "or" does not combine the two. Either in need of regular supervision or in need of health care services due to an ongoing medical condition. And of course, it could be both.
Correct. Okay.
So as I look at Mr. Gould's amendment, okay, and by the way, I see in reading the MD1 the reasons why this would be worded this way, in my opinion. And I'm not an attorney, but in my opinion. Because below it, under permitted uses, we have hospices. okay? And I had a sister, 77 years old, who passed away recently, and I know what hospice provided. It wasn't a very long-term thing, but it was extremely intense. It was nothing that the family members could do, you know, it was way beyond our capabilities, okay? Nursing homes, assisted living facilities, or convalescent homes. So it seems to me that the purpose of the district and the definition of it has to provide for all four of the below. It's got to have the ability to incorporate all four of those things, okay? In looking at assisted living facilities, it seems to me that Mr. Gould's amendment, okay, hits all of the important points as I'm reading it, because this is not an amendment for hospices. Am I correct, Mr. Gould? It's not an amendment for nursing homes, and it's not an amendment for convalescent homes, which, Sydney, correct me if I'm wrong, are 3 of the 4 permitted uses. Okay. It's an amendment for assisted living. Excuse me, a definition first for assisted living, and an amendment to make that very restrictive, okay? A very restrictive amendment in terms of combining healthcare services as the real nexus to assisted living, instead of just calling it assisted living. But I'm looking at Mr. Gould, his latest amendment. It's age restricted. The residents are provided assistance with activities of daily living, assistance with daily living, okay? And I would say assistance with daily living would be due to perhaps ongoing medical conditions, okay? Access to the activities, functions, and health-related services, health-related health care services, health-related services to the residents, and in order to meet the health care needs of the residents. And this says the health care services due to ongoing medical conditions. And the residents shall pay those costs. So I'm just saying, in my mind, I see a very a well thought out amendment that ties in a phrase assisted living to a good definition, okay? In terms of what Mr. Shane said about would the widow be able to continue to live there, I think that's a very good thing. I don't know if the widow didn't have health care needs, if they would want to pay $3,600 a month. That's a different issue, you know, but I'm good with the restrictions as Mr. Gould has laid them out. I think it tightens it up quite a bit. I mean, quite a bit. And I'll let you comment.
Okay. Well, may I disagree?
Absolutely.
First place, I don't think all 4 of these permitted uses are required. I mean, I just don't read it that way.
Well, wait, are required?
Yeah, I thought you said a minute ago that you felt like the 4 enumerated permitted uses all are required in order to fit within the definition of
No.
No, did I misunderstand?
No, what I'm saying is the definition of the purpose of the district, okay? It then has to deal with 4 different levels of care. I mean,
Potentially, yeah.
I think we would agree that hospice is a different level of care than assisted living.
I can see, I can understand.
Yeah. Near death as opposed to assisted living. And all I'm saying is that we're dealing with the definition of assisted living only tonight.
Okay, that's fine.
And all I'm saying is maybe this wouldn't be sufficient for hospice.
Oh, I agree with that.
But for assisted living, it seems to me to be very, very tight. But I'll let you continue.
Okay, well, if you look at it, and what I was talking about a while ago, if I didn't articulate it as well as I should have, it starts off in the highlighted portion of the new amendment. Said facility may include age-restricted adult housing. May is permissive, it's not mandatory.
But doesn't it have to say may because of the federal law?
I don't think so. I don't think so. No, I don't think so. As long as you're complying with the federal regulations, which is 80% over the 55, in this case, the 55-year age.
Okay.
I don't think it has to. I think the way I read it, it's a mandatory provision.
I apologize. I'm going to let you make your
case.
case.
And then it says health-related services.
Mm-hmm.
Not health services, health-related services. Again, that's open to argument and definition. And then offered to residents. It's not provided, it's offered. So you could potentially have someone living, particularly in the individual cottages, which are for independent living, that would not be in need of regular supervision and would not be in need of health care services due to ongoing medical conditions. All of the discussion, if you will, this evening about what's good about Christwood, and I have some good friends that were instrumental in Christwood, that's not what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about, in my view, and in my argument, is under the Unified Development Code. Does this amendment comport with the definition of the purpose, or is it contrary? Is it a contradiction to? And that's what I think. No argument about what's good, what's bad.
No, I hear you.
You understand?
Yeah.
So it's just a question of what the council has adopted and what this does, which I see as contradictory. What this amendment does, which I view as contradictory to what has already been adopted.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kemp. Mr. Bellis, excuse me, Mr. Smith.
Call the question, Mr. Chairman, if I'm in order.
Okay. Did you want to let Mr. Belisario make a comment first?
Only if he's going to go concur with that. No.
He kind of shrugged his shoulders and you know.
No,
Go ahead, Mr. Belisario.
my question was to move to Terry Hand to question him relative to what Mr. Kemp just said.
I stated at the zoning commission, and I'll state again, I believe that the amendment that was adopted of the definition at the zoning commission comports with the purpose statement. Contrary to, we disagree on it. That's what lawyers do. They disagree. Clearly, it makes reference to two areas, supervision and healthcare services. Those are the key areas. As you heard the expert testify, supervision will be a part of this.
Right.
And also, as this, the addition of these words clearly reference healthcare needs and health-related services in addition to the original definition that was adopted by zoning. So it further solidifies the fact that healthcare is a definite part of this. When you look at it from just purely a practical standpoint, as pointed out by Councilman Gu, why would somebody pay $5,000 a month when they can go out and get the same square footage for $1,200 to $1,500 a month? Clearly, and when we included in there the fact that the facility had to require that they pay a recurring uniform fee for the cost of, and part of it is health-related services. They are clearly paying for the services that are provided, which include healthcare-related services. So I believe that it does comport with the purpose statement.
All right, thanks. TJ?
Okay, Mr. Smith calls the question.
Mr. Gould, you did have a motion on the floor?
Excuse me?
You did?
I'm going to make it
No.
now.
Well,
Okay,
I'd
based
like to
on,
move then on the ordinance that has been proposed to us as amended and presented to us.
Well, let me say, TJ, what I think is you need to concur with the zoning commission's, recommendation with the stipulation that this other language will be added into the ordinance, because technically this isn't even an introduced ordinance yet. This stuff came through the Department of Planning first. So it's never been introduced. So it's really, technically, you're not amending. You're just going to be adding language once the ordinance is introduced. And that's your motion? Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, so to be clear, Mr. Smith's motion is to concur with the added most restricted language, seconded by Mr. Gould. Okay? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay, a motion and a second for ordinance for introduction. Motion by Mr. Belisario, seconded by Mr. Smith. Mr. Gould. Yes, with the stipulated additional language of the most restrictive document that we've been discussing tonight. Okay? Thank you.
Gene wants to take a break.
Gene, you want to take a break?
I would say, can we take about a 5-minute break?
5-minute break?
Yes?
Okay, we'll move to ordinances for adoption. Under ordinances for adoption, item 1 is ordinance calendar number 4947AA, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 19.748 acres from HC3 to HC1, I1, and MHO, Ward 9, District 14. Mr. Smith. Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Belisario. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Item 2 is ordinance calendar number 4965, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 1 acre from A1 to AT1, Ward 2, District 3. Mr. Thompson. Motion by Mr. Thompson, seconded by Mr. Tanner. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Item 3 is ordinance calendar number 4967, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify .3535 acres from A5 to PF1, Ward 8, District 9. Mr. Belisario.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Belisario, seconded by Mr. Smith. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Item 4 is ordinance calendar number 4968, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 1.84 acres from A2 to HC2, Ward 10, District 6. Mr. Tanner.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Tanner, seconded by Mr. Thompson. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Item 5 is ordinance calendar number 4969, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 20,000 square feet from A3 to A3 in MHO, Ward 6, District 6. Mr. Tanner.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Tanner, seconded by Mr. Gould. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Item 6 is ordinance calendar number 4970, ordinance to amend ordinance CS number 11-2638 to identify changes to the capital improvement list for 2012 through 2016.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Belisario, seconded by Mr. Falconer. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous,
Mr. Belisario, did you have a question on
No.
that? Oh, okay.
one absent.
Item 7 is ordinance calendar number 4971, ordinance to amend ordinance CS number 11-2638, the 2012 through 16 capital improvement budget and program fixed assets and grant awards.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Falconer, seconded by Mr. Belisario. Please vote.
Mr. Belisario. Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Item 8 is ordinance calendar number 4972, ordinance establishing a no-through truck zone on Holy Trinity Drive, Ward 4, District 5. Mr. Gould. Motion by Mr. Gould, seconded by, who's that? Mr. Sharp? Seconded by Mr. Sharp. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Item 9 is ordinance calendar number 4973, ordinance to amend ordinance CS number 11-2569, approval location change for 3 polling locations. Need a motion by Mr. Dean, seconded by Mr. Thompson. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Item 10 is ordinance calendar number 4974, ordinance to extend for 6 months the moratorium on Highland Park subdivision, District 12. I could use a motion. Motion by Mr. Gould, seconded by Mr. Falconer. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Item 11 is ordinance calendar number 4975, ordinance to extend for 6 months the moratorium on portions of Beverly Hills and Kings Point subdivisions, Ward 8, District 14. Mr. Smith.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Smith, seconded by Mr. Artigue. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Item 12 is ordinance calendar number 4976, ordinance to extend for 6 months the moratorium on administrative permits for agricultural uses within Council District Number 4. Mr. Falconer.
I move to remove this item, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to remove, seconded by Mr. Thompson. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Number 13 is ordinance calendar number 4977, ordinance to amend the 2013 operating budget, amendment number 2.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Belisario, seconded by Mr. Falconer. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Item 14 is ordinance calendar number 4978, ordinance to amend ordinance CS number 11-2569 to approve an address change of the St. Tammany Parish Registrar of Voters Office. Need a motion? Motion by Mr. Gould, seconded by Mr. Tanner. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Item 15 is ordinance calendar number 4980, ordinance to impose a 6-month moratorium on any properties within 500 feet of the center line on either side of Highway 1088 from Salt Street to I-12, Ward 4, Districts 5 and 7. Mr. Groby, motion by Mr. Groby, seconded by Mr. That's your district, right? Yes. Do you mind, Mr. Ortiz? No, it's both of us. No, seconded by Mr. Gould. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay, nominations. Nominate 2 individuals to the board for the St. Tammany Parish Tourist and Convention Commission. That will be 1 from the east side of the parish and 1 from the west side. So it's open for nominations. Mr. Tanner?
Tanner's first.
I'd like to nominate Laura Cressy for the west side position.
Laura Cressy, is that Cresse?
SSY.
SSY. From the west. Mr. Gould?
I'm going to nominate Paul Hollis.
Paul Hollis from the west.
And you're going to nominate...
I have a nomination. I'd like to nominate Connie Bourne from the east side, please.
Connie Bourne from the east. Okay, any others? Okay,
Mr.
motion.
Chair,
Yes, sir.
I had a nominee, but he requested I withdraw his name, so there's only going to be 1 from the east.
Okay, well, thank you. All right, motion to close nominations.
So moved.
Okay. Mr. Groby.
I'd like to go ahead and move to suspend the rules and do the election.
For the one from the east?
Yes.
Because I believe they have a vacancy. We only have 1 nominee. Okay, motion to suspend the rules to vote on the nominee from the east, seconded by Mr. Ortiz. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay, and then the 2 nominees from the west will roll over or lay over for next council meeting. Okay? Thank you very much. Okay, appointments. Item 1 is resolution to appoint Greg Moore to the Board of Sub-Drainage District Number 1, parcel of Gravity Drainage District Number 3.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Belisario, second by Mr. Ortiz. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Item 2 is resolution to appoint Debbie Shimmick to replace Carol Galileo on the Community Action Agency Advisory Board, Belisario, O'Brien, and Ortiz.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Belisario, seconded by Ms. O'Brien.
Is she here, Mr. Chairman?
Who, Ms.
No.
Ms. Shimmick? Okay, please vote.
Mr. Smith? Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Jerry?
Yes, sir.
Let me just be clear. Debbie Shimming is the director of CCC, and had attended the previous community action meeting, and everybody was supportive of her, the existing board members.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. All right, discussion and other matters. Item 1, excuse me, Mr. Groby, did you have?
Go ahead. Oh, wait.
Okay. Item 1 is motion to refer to the zoning commission for recommendation on the proposed rezoning of property located in section 12, Township 9 South, range 12 east from its present A1 Suburban District and PF-2 Public Facilities District to A1 Suburban District, Ward 7, District 7. Mr. Groby.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Groby, seconded by Mr. Tanner. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Okay, motion to open up items off the floor again, please. Motion by Mr. Dean, seconded by Mr. Sharp. I know I was just talking about it, Steve, but just so that maybe you didn't catch me on it, you know, but you caught me on it. I can't win here, Steve. But that's all right, buddy. You're doing your job. Okay. Please vote. I deserve it, Steve.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Okay. Item 3 is motion to refer to zoning commission for recommendation on the proposed rezoning of a lot from A3 to A3 in MHO, Ward 10, District 6. Mr. Tanner.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Tanner, seconded by Mr. Thompson. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Fourth is the motion to refer to zoning commission for recommendation of proposed rezoning of Hickory Hill subdivision from A2 Suburban District to A2 Suburban District in MHO Manufactured Housing Overlay, Ward 8, District 9. Mr. Belisario.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Belisario, seconded by Mr. Ortiz. Please vote. Okay. All right.
Mr. Belisario.
I was disturbed by someone.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Item 5 is resolution to appoint Danny Curtis to replace David Root, resigned on the board for Fire Protection District Number 8. Mr. Gould?
And Mr. Gould's absent. I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Falcon is seconded by Mr. Tanner. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Is Mr. Curtis in the audience? Someone said he might be here. No. Okay. All right. Now, Richie, I have your, excuse me, Mr. Ortiz, I have your verbal from off the floor. Does anyone else have, any other council member have a verbal from off the floor, please? No one else? Oh, Mr. Smith. Okay. All right, Mr. Ortiz, I'm gonna go ahead and read yours, okay? Correct me if I'm wrong. I've got a resolution to amend the capital improvement budget. And do you want to enlighten us a little bit on that? You want to turn your mic on, please?
We're going to vote on a new, we're going to bid on a new mobile command unit. That's supposed to be a really, really good deal if we can get it for less, for $25,000 or less. So we.
Oh, okay.
That's exactly what it's about.
Okay.
Limited to $25,000.
Okay, great. All right, so motion by Mr. Ortiz, seconded by Mr. Stefancic, excuse me, Mr. Belisario. Mr. Stefancic, did you want to say something?
Yeah, you got to move to open the floor. You're going to do it on each individual item?
No, I did move to open the floor.
No, you didn't.
I didn't?
No, not on this you didn't.
One of verbals.
Oh, excuse me.
You did it on the items you did it on the printed agenda.
Thank you.
I'll move that we open the floor.
Second.
I deserved it. Motion by Mr. Artigue to open the floor for the verbal items, seconded by, who seconded it? Mr. Stefanczyk, yes. Please vote. If I could just make it through one meeting, Brad. Just one meeting.
Motion is unanimous with
Maybe he
two
won't
absent.
show up
Jerry,
one night.
it can't happen.
Maybe he won't show up one night.
Well, no, we don't want that. Okay, so, Mr. Artigue, now you've explained your resolution.
Yeah, so that'll make a motion.
And you're making the motion
Yes.
on that. And Mr. Stefanczyk, you're seconding it?
I'll second it, but I have a question in the resolution. I've seen the van. It's a very, very good van for St. Tammany Parish.
Right.
I think most of us have seen it. Are we going to limit it to 25,000? We can't go over that at all?
Correct.
That's what the resolution
Well, I know,
says.
that's what I'm a little concerned about. It's worth a lot more than that. And the
Yeah,
old
but we
van
don't
that-
want to pay more than that.
And the old van that we have is pretty well shot, right?
You're absolutely right, Mr. Stefanczyk. It's, I think, valued at $68,000. So, and ours is in poor shape, but, you know.
Well, do we think we can get it for 25?
Well, it's going to be an auction. You know, we don't know that we can.
Oh, it's going to be an auction.
It's an auction.
It's an auction, and we put a limit of $25,000 because that's what I think we need to spend on it.
Okay.
If we could get it for $25,000, it's a really good deal.
What if we could get it for 30?
I'm not authorizing 30.
It's still a real
Okay.
good deal.
All right.
Okay, let me ask one question. If we put this limit on this and somebody's out there bidding on this thing, don't they just wait until 25,001?
Now they know, yeah.
That's, well,
Tell me how we can amend it.
That's government.
Well, I'm not,
well,
I'm
no,
not
it's
as
your
concerned.
resolution. I mean, you can.
I was asking the staff to go 25,000.
Oh,
It was
okay.
recommended 25,000 by the staff.
There's Dexter's out here.
Dexter, come talk to us.
Dexter, why don't you show them a
Dexter.
picture of it, so there might not be
I
any
got a picture
chance
of-
that other people might be bidding on it.
I got-
I passed the photograph around. We're utilizing grant money to
Anybody wanna see
purchase, we're utilizing grant money to purchase this, and
Yeah.
we will authorize up to 25,000.
With the grant
With the
money.
grant money. That's why we're not going over 25 and we have the cap.
Oh,
as
okay.
such.
Well, that makes
Okay.
sense.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Madam President?
I was about to say,
Yes.
since
Without showing your hand.
is there some way we might, in Dexter, we haven't talked about this, and I'm sorry, because this came up literally, you know, right today. Can we say $25,000 of the grant and then you give us some discretion to go with some of our own budget money to put with that grant?
That's what I
And
would,
let us use our discretion.
We-
And
we
we
could-
will.
we could amend
We
it to
will.
that.
If that's okay with
what I
you.
would like to see.
Yeah.
We
Jerry.
can amend it to that.
Because
think
that is a very
extremely
good
well worth
case that you stated somebody could see and they could sell it for more. So
Right.
just give us some discretion and we'll be
Maybe I'll
wise.
pose this, Pat, to you and Richie and Dexter. The need is obviously there.
Yes.
Okay, we've got 25,000 of grant money.
Right.
I appreciate, you all and Mr. Artigue wanting to limit our spending and be efficient. But let me ask Mr. Hand something real quick. On something like this, do we have to kind of determine what the value of it is so we don't overbid?
We have that.
They have the bid of 60.
We know what the approximate value
We
is,
have
and
done
let's
that.
not state that.
We won't state that, and let's just give us some discretion, and I promise you. won't
Okay,
be disappointed.
so, Madam President, maybe we,
Don't put a number.
no,
Put it on-
I'm not
put it
going
on
to
me.
put a number. What I was going to say is maybe you could just note me,
I will.
okay? You don't need to, but I'm just saying.
I will immediately.
No, you don't need
Mr.
to.
Bender, let me amend the resolution by giving the staff discretion in bidding on this particular piece of equipment.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
that's
And
fine.
you know, I can only say that because Kim Salter's not here tonight. Otherwise, I would never have said that.
Thank you, Mr. Tanner. Okay, motion by Mr. Mr. Tanner and Artigue, and seconded by Mr. Bellisario. Is that fair?
That's fair.
No, what you're doing is voting on the amendment first, right?
Oh, my God.
You need to do that.
Okay, I'm voting on the amendment from Mr. Tanner and Mr. Bellisario. Please vote. Red, it's on Steve, buddy.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Now we vote on the motion.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, now
we
I
just
need a
vote on the-
motion
we just vote
to
on the
adopt as amended.
Right.
Motion by Mr. Artigue, seconded by Mr. Tanner.
We did it.
Please vote.
Mr. Dean, Mr. Sharp, Mr. Thompson. Thank you. Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
All right, Mr. Smith? Oh, okay, withdraw. All right, no other verbals off the floor. Move to adjourn.